Tonight, when the sun goes down, you are going to do something your ancestors never could. You are going to turn on a light. And the world will stay bright and warm and safe. And you will not think about it for even a second. You will scroll or eat, or watch something, or talk to someone. And the darkness outside your window will mean absolutely nothing to you. But for 99% of human history, that window did not exist. That light did not exist. And when the sun went down, the world did not just get dark. It became something else entirely. The question of what ancient humans actually did at night is one that archaeologists, anthropologists, and sleep researchers have only recently begun to answer seriously. And what they have found reaches so far into your daily life that by the time this video ends, you will never think about your evenings the same way again. It starts with fire, the oldest conforming evidence of controlled fire used by human ancestors dates to roughly 1 million years ago, at a site called Wonderwerk Cave in South Africa. Anthropologist Francesco Berna and his team found burned bone and plant ash in layers of sediment that could only have been produced by a contained, controlled fire, not a wildfire. Not lightning, not accident. A fire that someone made and someone kept. That fire changed everything. Before fire, nightfall meant retreat. Every large predator that threatened early humans, lions, leopards, hyenas, the now extinct saber-toothed cats hunted most effectively in darkness. Human eyes, unlike those of most predators, are not adapted for low light. Without fire, the night belonged to things that wanted to eat you. And the only rational response was to climb something, hide somewhere and stay completely still until morning. Fire ended that. A controlled fire at the mouth of a cave or in the center of a camp created something that had never existed before in the natural world, a human space. A boundary the night could not cross. And inside that boundary, for the first time in the history of the species, ancient humans had something extraordinary. They had time. Not time to survive. Time to exist. Time that was not consumed by finding food, avoiding predators, or moving to the next safe location. Time that was, for the first time, genuinely free.
Anthropologist Polly Wiessner spent years living with and studying the Kungsan people of the Kalahari Desert, one of the oldest continuous hunter-gatherer cultures on Earth. She recorded and analyzed hundreds of hours of conversation, carefully noting what people talked about during the day versus what they talked about at night. The difference was dramatic. Daytime conversation, she found, was almost entirely practical. Food locations, tool repair, disputes about resources, the logistics of survival. But nighttime conversation, gathered around the fire, was something completely different. It was stories. It was speculation about people who were not there. It was accounts of distant places and past events. It was, in Wiessner's own words, the social and imaginative, world expanding far beyond the immediate and the practical. In short, ancient humans sat around the fire at night and talked. Not just talked. They performed. They sang. They danced. Ethnographic records from hunter-gatherer cultures around the world show that firelit evenings were the primary setting for music, storytelling, spiritual ceremony, and the transmission of cultural knowledge from elders to the young. The fire was not just a heat source, it was a stage. Evolutionary psychologist Robin Dunbar, famous for his research on social group sizes and the evolution of language, has argued that the extension of the social day into the night, made possible by fire, was one of the key drivers of the cognitive explosion that produced modern human behavior. The ability to sit together in darkness, to share stories about people and places and times beyond the immediate present, exercised and expanded exactly the parts of the human brain responsible for theory of mind, narrative thinking, and long-range social bonding. You did not evolve around a television. You evolved around a fire, and the deep pull you feel toward screens in the evening, the warm light, the stories, the faces, the voices, is not a modern weakness. It is an ancient need, wearing a new map. But there is another dimension to ancient nights that most people never consider. Sleep. For most of modern history, scientists assumed that ancient humans slept the way we are told we should sleep. 8 solid hours, from dusk to dawn, uninterrupted. This assumption was so deeply embedded that it shaped medical advice, school schedules, and workplace policies for generations. Then Jerome Siegel, at UCLA, attached activity monitors to 3 hunter-gatherer groups living without electricity: the Hadza of Tanzania, the San of Namibia, and the Tsimane of Bolivia. He recorded their actual sleep patterns over months and published his findings in 2015. What he found was surprising, enough to send researchers back to rethink almost everything. These groups did not sleep 8 hours. They averaged between 6 and 7.5 hours per night. They did not go to sleep at sunset. They typically stayed awake for several hours after dark, talking, tending fires, telling stories, and fell asleep, on average, 3 to 4 hours after the sun went down, and they woke not at sunrise, but before it, in the coldest part of the night, alert and ready. Their sleep was not a single block. There is growing evidence, supported by historian Roger Ekirch's research into pre-industrial sleep records, that segmented sleep. 2 separate periods of sleep with a quiet, wakeful interval in the middle of the night was the human norm for most of our history. People would sleep for a few hours, wake naturally in the small hours, lie quietly, or speak softly, or tend the fire, and then sleep again until morning. This middle-of-the-night waking was not insomnia. It was not a disorder. It was, for most of human history, simply Tuesday night. If you have ever woken at 2 or 3 in the morning and lain there feeling strangely calm and clear, you have experienced something your ancestors experienced every night of their lives. The quiet hours, the time between sleeps, the dark vigil between one day and the next. Ancient humans used that time. They fed the fire. They listened to the sounds outside the camp. They talked quietly with whoever else was awake. In some cultures, the middle of the night, waking, was considered a spiritually significant time, a thin place between the world of the living and the world of dreams, where insights came more easily, and the mind moved in ways it could not. During the busy hours, and children. Ancient children did not have bedtimes. Anthropologist David Samson, who studies sleep across primate species and human cultures, has found that in traditional hunter-gatherer groups, children stayed awake with the adults around the fire for as long as they could manage, falling asleep when they fell asleep, often directly on or beside a parent. The idea of a separate bedtime, a separate bedroom, a separation between child and group at night is an invention of the modern world, one that, Samson argues,